Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about a subject that has really occupied most of my life. The whole question between the objective world and the subjective world. It's always been around. I can even remember in 1971, 1972 maybe, when I met my first teacher, my Indian guru in Amsterdam. And I can still remember the question that I asked him. I mean, that's a good 30, 40, 50 years ago. I said to him, I'd been to a nightclub the night before. And with my eyes open, there was one reality. With my eyes closed, there was another reality. Which one was the real one? And that question has kind of come up over and over again in so many different ways. Which is the real world? And one of the questions I often ask my medical doctor students when they come is, which is more real, the objective world or the subjective world? Think about that yourself for a moment. What do you think is more real, objective world or the subjective? Now, I would say that probably 70% of the doctors would immediately say the objective world is more real. The other 30, I'm not quite sure. They hesitate for a moment. And maybe a few of them will say, oh, I think the subjective world is more real. What do you think? So, I mean, that's an interesting question because it makes an enormous difference to the way we live our reality and the way we interact with people, our relationships and the jobs we do. Because if the objective world is more real, then we have to really pay attention to the world out there. If the subjective world is more real, then we really have to pay attention to what's happening inside us, which is subjective. Now, the trouble is that in this modern world that we live in today that is governed by what we call Newtonian science, that particular science is a very reductionistic science. I call it flat earth science. And there's a good reason for that, because they need to deal with the objective world that can be measured and seen, can be weighed, can be touched. That's objective world. And modern science really deals with that. So for that reason, modern science treats the human being as a body which is machine-like, made of parts, can be strung together, parts can be taken out and replaced. If there's a biochemical problem, we can adjust that biochemical problem with drugs or whatever we want to do. So the whole construct of modern conventional medicine is based on the idea of this objective world, that only the objective world is real and we need to deal with the objective world. That's what's real. So if a person is ill, let's deal with the body, which we can measure, we can see, we can open up, we can cut, we can remove. And that's kind of the machine model, what I call flat earth medicine, actually, flat earth reality. So think about it now. Which one is more real to you, the objective world or the subjective world? Now, I'm looking at a tree out of my window there, and I say, oh, the tree is objective. But do I see the tree as objective? I mean, where I'm sitting now, the photons of that tree are passing through my eyes, traveling along a nerve process to my brain. It's upside down in my brain. It has to be turned around again so it's upright. So are my eyes seeing the tree out there, or is my brain seeing the tree inside me? See, it makes a big difference, because can I know the objective world ever, actually? Because everything I know has to pass through the filters of my sensory apparatus, my ears, my eyes, my taste, my skin. All that are filters. Because they're filters, they filter what I'm looking at. So I'm not really seeing exactly what's out there as it is. I'm seeing what's out there as filtered through my filters into my brain, which interprets it and says, oh, there's a tree, as if the tree's out there. Well, I don't actually see the tree out there. I'm seeing the tree inside me. So so there we are. So is the world Is my world that I know subjective or objective? Well, the world that I know is actually all subjective. My whole relationship with my family, with my partner, with the world out there, everything has to pass through filters. And there's sensory filters, and there are all kinds of other filters as well. Knowing filters, feeling filters. Everything is filtered. My whole reality is filtered. So in that sense, you could say that my reality is just an illusion or a dream. Some philosophers talk about the dream. But it's a kind of illusion because, and remember that an illusion doesn't mean that it's not real. A mirage is real. It's just that you misunderstand what you're seeing. So what I'm looking out there in the world is all an illusion in the sense that it's passing through all my senses and my feelings and interpreted in my head. It's an interpretation, therefore it's an illusion. So I don't really know what that tree is or looks like. I mean, a bird may see the tree differently. A person who's colorblind or has different filters will see the tree differently. So the whole nature of reality is a little bit strange. And even philosophers and scientists, good scientists, puzzle about the nature of matter. I mean, what really is matter? I mean, Niels Bohr won the Nobel Prize for Physics, said, that I've been examining matter all my working life, and I can tell you one thing, there's no such thing as matter. It's only energy information. So what we're looking at, through our senses, we see as energy information. What we feel is different and may feel differently. Our emotional responses may be differently. So we have a whole construct of reality happening inside us. So take relationships, for example, and how important this is too. Because in relationships, we are constantly making judgments upon our partner based on what? Based on what's been filtered. Everything's filtered. Your partner's filtered. Your partner, in a way, is not the person that is there. It's your filtered version of your partner in the way that everything gets filtered. There's nothing that doesn't get filtered. And everything that's filtered has to be interpreted by the thinking mind or the mind, whatever that is. So our whole understanding of our partner, of our children, of reality and what's going on there is all a kind of dream, a kind of illusion, because it's all filtered and all interpreted according to our background philosophy. If you happen to be a radical religious person, you're going to see the world in a radical kind of way. If you're a more open-minded philosopher, you're going to see the world in a more open-minded way. It's not a question of right and wrong here. It's a question only that you need to understand that everything is filtered. And you can base your reality on that filtering. So that's why I say choose a story that works for you. If it doesn't work for you, change your story, because we're all dealing with stories. The world is subjective. The trouble has been that modern science has done something to us and disempowered us, said only the objective world is real, and therefore has disempowered us completely, disempowered our whole background of who we are as a human being, our feeling and emotions and all that. And we began to believe that, only science has the real handle on reality. And I'm saying, hang on, no, it's not like that. Science can measure things, and that's part of the story. I'm not saying that the objective world isn't part of the story that we have to live. We need to understand that there is a consensus around the objective world. So there may be a consensus around 10 people looking at the tree and say, oh yeah, that is a tree. But then let's start to look at what it means to see a tree. And what do we feel about it, and what's happening inside us? So it's the objective world is only part of understanding the world. But actually the world that we live in is much more subjective than it is objective. And we need to recognize that, and being enormously humble about this world that we understand, because subjectively we live a world that is unique to each one of us. And that's why art is so beautiful because it's somebody expressing their world the way it is. Songs and music and all kinds of art is expressing the subjective in the way that it is, and that's beautiful. The objective world can become very uninteresting after a while because it's like, oh, it's just objective. Anyway, please have a look at this and I'll discuss it more and more, because for me, this whole question of the subjective space, how do we explore that subjective space once we take back our power and not allow science to dictate who we are and what we are and where we are. We need to do this journey ourselves. Have a good day.